Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. As we approach episode 450, I'm going to wind up here and there sporadically throwing in a replay of some of the higher rated shows that we've had. So this is actually one of them. Hope you enjoy. Hey, welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry. I am the Liberty Penguin. Some people call me Wombat. Actually, it's only a couple of people that call me Wombat, but I've got a funny story about that. So I've got a friend that I go into her place of business a good bit because, you know, like I have to do business there. And so her boss overhears her call me Wombat one day. And he asked her, he said, Becca, why does Darryl call himself Wombat? And she said, Darryl doesn't call himself Wombat. I started calling him Wombat because he refuses to tell me what the W stands for. And he said, oh, I thought he had given himself the nickname, and I was curious why. So, nope, I did not come up with Wombat for myself, but I do think it's kind of cute. And wombats as animals are kind of cute. But I digress. Today is Wednesday, which normally means it's the Ask Me Anything. But here's a little secret. In order for me to actually do an Ask Me Anything, people have to actually ask questions. And, well, there were no questions other than, what's your big secret? And the big secret is not that I will tell you what the W in Darryl W. Perry stands for, because from now on, if you ask, I will say Wombat, because that's basically the name that's been given to me by a couple of friends. So, seeing as how there are no questions for the AMA this week, I will remind you that if you have questions, you can send those to me via email, ama@fppradio.com, or if you're on the Twitter, you can tweet me at Darryl W. Perry using hashtag AMA. Although I largely find Twitter to be just absolutely worthless because it's very difficult to have an intelligent conversation in 140 characters. So I really don't even know why I use Twitter other than, like, you know, it's easy for sharing links and that's really what I use it for. But every now and then somebody will, you know, try to goad me into some kind of stupid argument on Twitter. And again, I find it to be completely worthless, completely useless. If I wanted to get into arguments with people on the internet, then I would not actually wind up doing anything. I would not be productive at all, and it would sap all of the creativity out of me. Speaking of creativity, well, since there's no AMA questions, let's go ahead and jump into version 4.0 of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. It's the version of the show to where I help you become a better version of you while I become a better version of me. And, well, science, yes, science, reveals the best time to do amazingly creative work. And this interests me because I like being creative. I'm not always as creative as I want to be. There are times when I've got ideas in my head, but I don't know how to put those ideas onto paper or, you know, ones and zeros in computer form or other physical sort of mediums. But I do like being creative nonetheless. So let's jump into the article here from lifehack.org. They begin, if you regularly put time and effort into becoming more creative, this is for you. If your boss or supervisor has commented that they'd love for you to work on your creative skills, this is even more for you. If you're an artist, musician, writer, filmmaker, poet, or any other kind of self-identified creative individual, this is most definitely for you. We love learning how to be more creative. Creativity remains one of the most highly valued assets in the workplace. Companies are pushing recruiters and HR staff harder than ever to find candidates who can think differently. Businesses want problems solved more efficiently and more quickly, and creative thinking is arguably the most effective way to conquer problems. And allow me to pause right here to say that it's so interesting that creativity is sought out and sought after because people spend so much of their life, generally the first or 12 of the first 18 years of their life, having the creativity sapped out of them and sucked out of them. You are not to be creative. You are to do things exactly as we tell you. That's what government-run education does, is create everybody into just identical cogs that can fit into the machine, easily replaceable. You do not have thoughts of your own. You learn things for a test, you pass the test, and then you learn something for the next test, forgetting everything you had learned for the previous test. Don't dare try to do things differently. I recall one time when I was in junior high, there was a math test where it was show your work. And some of the things I did the work differently than how the teacher had taught because I was able to figure out that, hey, wait a second, this equation's a lot more complicated than this other equation that does the same thing. And I wound up, believe it or not, losing points because my work was different, even though I came up with the right answer. I just did not come up with the answer the way the teacher wanted me to. But somehow I have survived, and I still have creativity somewhat intact. Despite all of this, how does creativity as a skill and the fostering of it remain so utterly elusive? Well, I basically just told you. It remains elusive because it gets sucked out of people. Yes, it's highly sought after, and that's because it is incredibly freaking rare. At least that's what it seems, this according to the article here. If you were born and raised in a developed country, chances are you were educated through more traditional models. That is to say, standardized testing, rigid classroom structures were more often the rule, not the exception. Creative thought increases value everywhere. And I'll jump into this as well as what science has revealed as the best time to do amazingly creative work. So stay tuned to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio online at fppradio.com. In 1999, Darryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic. Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Darryl W. Perry on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com.
It is the year 91,001 BCE. Witness humanity's origins in Hyperchronius, a classic role-playing game for Windows PCs, with a story like no other game before. A liberty-oriented experience that is not to be missed. Go to ZOG.Ninja to get your copy of Hyperchronius today. Use the code FPP to get $1 off. Hyperchronius, ZOG.Ninja, code FPP.
This is Jeremy Scott, host of Dark 30. You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Speaking of amazingly creative work, when you're in jail, you have a lot of time to do, well, a lot of nothing. And sometimes people in jail can be incredibly creative. One of those people is Ross Ulbricht, who drew an amazing picture, and you can see that at art.freeross.org, or it might be art.freeross.com. I'll make sure to put the appropriate link in the show notes. But Ross did this picture, and the Ross Ulbricht Foundation wound up doing a fundraiser with the picture to where people could buy little squares and reveal it I forget what the TV show was back a long time ago, where it was a game show where you revealed little pieces of the picture, and then whoever the first one to guess wound up winning a prize. Well, they did that to raise funds. There were 9,350 little squares. They got removed one by one as people paid $1 per square. And Roberts & Roberts, who is an advertiser here on this show, they put up 21 grams of gold, where they randomly selected 21 squares. And after the entire picture was revealed, they then notified the winners of these 21 grams of gold. And I was the lucky winner of one of those grams of gold. And I must say, it's absolutely beautiful. So if you want to get your hands on some gold or silver, definitely check out Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. They've been doing this for nearly 40 years. Since 1977, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Give Roberts & Roberts a call for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760. That's 800-874-9760. Or visit them online at rrbi.co. And since I mentioned that drawing by Ross Ulbricht, now that the entire thing has been revealed, there is going to be, I believe, an auction for the original of Ross's drawing, plus prints of the drawing will be up for sale. I'll post those links in the show notes to where you can get your hands on one of these prints of the Ross Ulbricht picture, where it's titled The Trial I Saw. And he basically had a dream, and he wound up drawing the trial, his horrible, horrible kangaroo court trial, to where he basically was not allowed to present a defense. And what was his reward for having created a website to make the black market safer? Well, he wound up getting rewarded with 2 life sentences plus 40 years. But again, very creative, very brilliant man. So let's jump back into the story here from Lifehack on what science shows is the best times to be creative. Creative thought increases value everywhere, they say. It's no secret that STEM, that's science, tech, energy, and math, or rather, it's no secret that STEM classes, and then they have, the science, technology, energy, math. So I'll just reread without that. It's no secret that STEM classes and majors are prioritized and glamorized over others. These jobs almost unequivocally pay more than jobs related to arts and literature, history, education, and psychology. Even healthcare jobs don't always compete salary-wise with STEM-related jobs. Now, I'm not saying careers involving STEM proficiencies are bad. I'm simply illustrating that career paths not traditionally associated with creativity or artsy thinking even value the leverage of creativity when all of it is said and done. At the end of the day, creativity seems to win universal acclaim. So let's cut to the chase and learn when you're most apt to produce your most creative work. Are all the myths about creativity true? Believe it or not, doing your best creative thinking is most likely to happen when you're tired. I know, this information pretty much flies in the face of conventional wisdom, especially in regards to hard work. Most people recommend getting up early in the day, getting to your workspace, making sure your desk is well lit, and hammering away at your craft. There are fantastic recommendations for productivity, but it turns out they aren't exactly ideal for optimal creativity. Researcher Marika Wythe and Rose Zaks conducted a study in which they first determined the peak cognition times of their subjects. The research subjects were given a simple test that determined whether they considered themselves morning people or evening people. This test provided information on when an individual's cognition and focus are clearest. This was later referred to in the research as one's peak time. An off-peak time was naturally the opposite of the peak time at which someone's intellectual function was most driven. The pair found that when we're at our peak time, our brains are able to more efficiently filter out distractions and get work done. As the day draws near an end, or more appropriately, as we reach our off-peak time, our brains are not able to operate as efficiently and we become more susceptible to a broader range of information. This component, the default openness to more bits of information and varying interpretations, is what actually drives optimal creativity. This unconventional but potent realization can come as mild bad news and good news. It may be bad news because you might have to adapt your workflow to optimize your creativity. The good news is that powering up your creative work just became a lot simpler to harness. Now that you understand when your best creative work can be done, what are a few ways to utilize this wisdom? Check out these recommendations. And there are several recommendations here. There's actually 3 of them that I will go through on how to fully optimize your creative potential now that you know that you are most creative when you're a little tired. The author of the article says, carry a pen and notepad with you at all times. I know this can sound super cliche because everyone recommends it, but that's because it works. Don't rely on your brain to remember every nugget, tidbit, and idea you create or encounter. It will not happen. Write down everything that intrigues you so you can refer to it later. Even better is to keep a separate notebook by your bed. And definitely you want to write it down, not type it out. Because remember, we covered a while back that when you write things down, you recall them better. Because you're actually, somehow the neurons and the whatnot in your brain remember things better when you write them. A couple more tidbits here on how to be more creative. Stay tuned to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's FANS.fppradio.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Now I've got a question for you. I know it's the AMA where I'm supposed to be answering your questions, but you didn't send any, so I've got a question for you. Don't worry, I'll get back into the article here in just a second. Are you fed up with the government running every aspect of your life? You are? Good. Okay, follow up. Why are you not listening to the Lava Flow podcast yet? What's wrong with you? Go right now to thelavaflow.com/listen. The Lava Flow podcast, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Subscribe today using any podcatcher at thelavaflow.com/listen. Or just go back to sucking up to the government. The Lava Flow podcast, striking the root every episode. And this is not part of the script. This is me talking from the heart. If you have not listened to the most recent episode of the Lava Flow podcast yet, I highly recommend you do so. I will not give you any spoilers, but yeah, be prepared to possibly have your mind blown. Roger Paxton, the host and producer of the Lava Flow, says in the show that he might wind up losing some listeners and possibly some donors because of what he says in the show. So highly recommend that you check it out if you have not done so yet. So let's jump back in to the recommendations on how to harness your inner creativity at its optimum time, which again is when you are most tired. First, carry a pen and notepad with you at all times. Yes, it's cliche, but it will help you remember. Reserve a few nights or mornings out of the week to have nothing going on. Darryl, and yes, I'm talking to myself here. Darryl, you need to follow this. Stop working all the time. You don't have to work every day. But yes, I do. Who else is going to record the news? Who else is going to write the news? Well, no, you need to reserve a few nights and mornings out of the week to have nothing going on. Just allow yourself to be free of obligations and to have the chance to write down new ideas, patterns, and possibilities. Assign these moments in your schedule based on your own peak time. And the third recommendation here, maintain a relatively full schedule. Yet, see, this is why I can't reserve nights or mornings to have nothing, because I have a full schedule. Well, let's just see what the author says here. When you have a lot going on, you are more likely to get tired sooner, and as we know, being tired facilitates creativity. The sooner you get tired, the sooner and more likely you are to have some cool ideas coming your way. Not having a decently full schedule can be somewhat of a hindrance to creative thought. So, yeah, it seems as though there's sort of contradictory stuff here of have a full schedule, but simultaneously have a couple of nights and mornings where you don't have anything going on. Well, how am I supposed to have a full schedule and have days where I have nothing on my plate? But nonetheless, that is where the balancing act comes in, right? Well, let's change gears here just a little bit and give you some inspiring quotes on life. Some of these might wind up, inspiring you to be more creative or to be a little creative or maybe a lot. I don't know. Hopefully they inspire you in some way. These quotes here come from archetypes.com, and I will go through these. I might wind up adding my own thoughts on some of these, but let me read the brief intro that they have. They say, life is an existence of all living matters. Each individual has their own perspective, their own meaning for life. What is life is often a debatable and tricky question. According to me, this being the author, not me, Darryl the host, life comes in all shapes and sizes. Yeah, I agree. There is happy life, there is sad life, frustrated life, positive life, negative life, philosophical life. The list is endless. Whether you fall under any of these categories or a mixture of them, here are 20 quotes on life that will inspire and hopefully make you see life through a different angle. Life quote number one, inspiring quote number one, Albert Einstein. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Number two, life is like photography. You need the negatives to develop. That is unknown. It's unknown who said that. Quote number three, Dennis Kimbrough. Life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. And there are various things on this. There's the thing, something about 90%, 10% preparation, 90% perspiration, various other things. But yes, this is definitely very true that a lot of life is how you react to things that happen. Sidney Harris gives us quote number four. When I hear somebody sigh, life is hard, I'm always tempted to ask, compared to what? Number five, also an unknown author or speaker of this quote, walk away from anything or anyone who takes away your joy. Life is too short to put up with fools. Number six, the only thing that stands between you and your dreams is the will to try and the belief that it is actually possible. Johann Wolfgang van Goethe gives us quote number seven, live each day as if your life has just begun. And this is really the opposite of how a lot of people say. A lot of people say live each day as if it is your last, but that puts sort of a negative spin on it, right? Well, life is supposed to be positive, so live each day as if it has just begun. What's the other statement? Today is the first day of the rest of my life. Well, life has 2 rules. Number 1, never quit. Rule number 2, always remember rule number 1. And I'll go through the rest of these quotes here in the closing moments of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Hey, it's the closing moments of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, and I will try going through the rest of these quotes. There are 20 of them. I'm on number 9 right now. William James said, "Be not afraid of life. Believe that life is worth living, and your belief will help create the fact." 3 things you cannot recover in life: the word after it is said, the moment after it is missed, and the time after it is gone. John Grisham gives us quote number 11. "In life, finding a voice is speaking and living the truth. Each of you is an original. Each of you has a distinctive voice. When you find it, your story will be told. You will be heard." Jalal ad-Din Rumi gives us quote 12. "I am not this hair. I am not this skin. I am the soul that lives within." Very poetic, very true. Another unknown quote: "The biggest failure you can have in life is making the mistake of never trying at all." It's part of why I did a triathlon last year, and, well, I'm doing one again this year because I'm just absolutely a crazy person, apparently. Quote number 4 from Mahatma Gandhi: "Look at the sparrows. They do not know what they will do in the next moment. Let us literally live from moment to moment." Shannon Alder gives us quote 15. "When you are joyful, when you say yes to life and have fun and project positivity all around you, you become the sun in the center of every constellation, and people want to be near you." Oprah Winfrey gives us quote 16 here on the list of 20 inspiring quotes about life. "There is no greater gift that you can give or receive than to honor your calling. That's why you were born and how you become most truly alive." Robert Burns says, "The purpose of life is a life of purpose." Another unknown author says, "Being happy does not mean that everything is perfect. It means that you have decided to look beyond the imperfection." Carl Bard has these words of wisdom: "Though no one can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending." And the final quote on 20, or rather, final quote of 20 inspiring quotes on life, comes from former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, who says, "The purpose of life is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience." And I'll go ahead and give you quote number 21. "If you want to have a good life, you have to live." That's it. If you want a good life, you have to live. And that is partly, a remake of the quote from Braveheart: "All men die, not all men really live." This is Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copyheart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas, which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.